She was the kind of woman people overlooked. Quiet, ordinary, almost invisible in the halls of influence. Until a single, surprising dinner invitation from her billionaire boss flipped her life upside down. When she entered the restaurant dressed like a vision, she didn't just capture his attention. She awakened a love neither of them expected. But what happens when the woman who always stayed in the background dares to step forward and rewrite her fate? Hello family. Welcome to True Life Stories. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a like. It means so much to us. Share this video with your friends and family, and make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story from us. Thank you for supporting us. Now relax and enjoy as we dive into this tale. Every morning at exactly 7:45, Clara Hayes walked into the office. Never earlier, never later. Her desk, tucked in a quiet corner near the CEO's glass-walled office, was always spotless. Folders stacked neatly, a shining computer screen, and one framed photograph of a sunset. No family portraits. No plants with quirky names. No clutter. Clara herself was much the same, practical, private, and quietly efficient. Her wardrobe hardly varied. Long skirts in navy or gray, crisp button-up blouses, and sensible low heels. Her glasses sat squarely on her nose, and her curly hair was always pulled into a bun without a strand out of place. If she wore fragrance, no one ever noticed. If she smiled, it was small and fleeting. But she was dependable, remarkably so. The company ran more smoothly because of her. She remembered birthdays, prepared reports no one asked for, and kept track of the CEO's schedule with uncanny precision. Colleagues respected her professionalism, but they rarely saw her. While others lingered in the break room gossiping or scrolling their phones, Clara buried herself in spreadsheets and calendars. Her world revolved around order, deadlines, and performance. She had no patience for frivolity, least of all romance. No one had ever seen her go on a date, or even entertain the idea. Those who tried befriending her gave up quickly, whispering that she was cold or dull. Clara never minded. She had her work, and that was enough, or so she told herself. Then came the third week of the quarter, when disaster struck. A merger document mishandled. A missing signature. A deadline overlooked. A multi-million-dollar deal on the verge of collapse. Clara didn't panic. She stayed at the office for 2 nights, sleeping only a few hours on the break room sofa. Her eyes burned behind her glasses, her bun loosened by the hour, and coffee replaced meals. But she worked. And she fixed it. By Monday morning, the documents were filed, the signatures secured, and the client reassured. The deal was saved, and no one but Clara knew how. Ethan Cole noticed. The CEO, known for his intensity and commanding presence, wasn't the type for small talk. In his late 30s, always sharp and tailored suits, with piercing eyes and a voice that carried authority, he was admired and feared in equal measure. But he had been paying attention to Clara. Not in the usual way men notice women, but in the quiet strength she carried. While others clamored for recognition, she worked silently, never faltering. And that intrigued him. Clara. Ethan's deep voice called from his office doorway that Monday afternoon. She turned, fingers still on her keyboard. Yes, Mr. Cole? Step inside a moment. Clara blinked, surprised. He rarely spoke to her directly, let alone asked her in private. Her heart quickened as she stood, smoothed her skirt, and followed him. Ethan closed the door. I reviewed the Baratech updates, he said, leaning against his desk. You saved the deal. I was just doing my job, she replied stiffly. No, he said, folding his arms. Everyone else panicked. You didn't. You did more than your job. This company holds together because of you. Clara gripped the folder in her hand, unsure how to respond. Compliments were rare, especially from him. Thank you, sir, she murmured. I'd like to take you to dinner, Ethan said. Her eyes widened. Dinner. He nodded, tone casual. To thank you. Nothing formal. Just a proper thank you. You've earned it. Dinner with the CEO? That was unheard of. Clara's mind scrambled. I don't think. It's not an order, he cut in gently, almost with a smile. I'd simply like to know the woman behind the miracle worker. Just dinner. No strings. She swallowed hard. All right. When? Friday night. I'll send the details. He sat back down, signaling the conversation was over. Clara walked out in a daze. That evening, she sat on her couch, staring into her closet like it held life's greatest riddle. Every outfit looked the same, safe, plain, forgettable. I can't wear any of these, she muttered. You're absolutely right, you can't, a voice declared from the doorway. Clara turned to see her best friend Lena, bold in a red leather jacket, already kicking off her heels. I heard everything, Lena announced, tossing her bag aside. Dinner with your boss? The ridiculously wealthy, impossibly attractive CEO? Honey, you are not showing up in beige polyester. Clara sighed. It's not like that. He just wants to thank me for work. Right, Lena smirked. And I eat kale because I love it. I mean it, Clara insisted. I'm not trying to be anyone else. He asked me to dinner, not to audition for The Bachelor. Lena crossed her arms. Clara, you've been hiding behind competence for years. Walls taller than filing cabinets. Don't you ever want someone to really see you? Clara stayed silent. Let me help, Lena softened. Not for him. For you. Let me remind you of the woman you've buried under all this beige. Clara hesitated, then slowly nodded. Later, she stood barefoot under the harsh light of her bedroom, watching Lena rummage through her wardrobe like an archaeologist uncovering relics of plain fashion. Do you own anything that isn't beige? Lena groaned, pulling out another drab skirt. These aren't clothes, they're in witness protection. Clara folded her arms tightly, sitting on the edge of her neatly made bed. I told you I don't do this sort of thing. It's not a date. Lena stopped, then sat beside her. No, not yet. But that doesn't matter. This isn't about him. It's about you showing up as the woman you are, not as a beige skirt and glasses from undergrad. Clara smiled faintly. They're functional. They're tragic, Lena shot back. Clara lowered her gaze. I don't know how to be that kind of woman, Lena. The kind men notice. The kind Ethan Cole would notice. Lena clasped her hand gently. It's time you learn, Clara, because you're not invisible. You never have been. For a moment, silence weighed heavy between them, broken only by the rumble of a city bus rolling past the apartment window. Then Lena straightened. Come on. Get dressed. We're going shopping. They reached the boutique just before closing. Lena, clearly a familiar face there, gave the sales clerk a look that needed no words. We need a miracle in satin, she declared. Clara trailed after her, moving like a hesitant partner in a crime she hadn't agreed to. The dresses they pulled from the racks were daring, elegant. Nothing Clara would normally wear. Deep jewel colors, smooth fabrics, necklines that dipped lower than she'd ever dared. She tried to object several times, but Lena cut her off each time. No more hiding in turtlenecks, Lena insisted. You're not dressing for Ethan. You're dressing for the woman buried under calendars and deadlines. It was the fourth dress that changed everything. An off-the-shoulder emerald gown, cinched at the waist and flowing to the floor. When Clara stepped from the fitting room, Lena gasped. Oh my God. Clara turned to the mirror, stunned. The reflection staring back at her felt foreign, yet oddly familiar. Like rediscovering a piece of herself she'd forgotten. The fabric clung in all the right places. Her shoulders drew back, chin lifted. She even smiled. Not the polite, professional smile she wore at work, but something real. Alive. Curious. Who is that? She whispered. That, Lena said softly, is the woman I've always seen. The following day was spent planning every detail. Lena whisked Clara to her favorite salon, where two stylists set upon her hair like it was a divine mission. The tight bun was gone, replaced by loose, glossy curls framing her face. Then came the makeup, subtle, refined. Clara stared at her reflection, blinking in disbelief. Her glasses had vanished, swapped for contacts that made her dark eyes stand out. Lena stood behind her, arms crossed, admiring. Clara Hayes, she said with flair. You look like a goddess. Clara shook her head. I barely recognize myself. That's the point, Lena replied. You've been living like a shadow. Now it's time to step into the light. By Friday evening, Clara was pacing her tiny living room, emerald gown draped over her as though it belonged to someone else. Her heart pounded like a warning drum. What if this was a mistake? What if Ethan laughed? What if she stumbled in the heels? Her phone buzzed. A message from Lena. You're not going to disappear tonight. You're going to shine. Knock him dead. Taking a steadying breath, Clara grabbed her coat and walked out the door. The restaurant sat in the city's heart, a sleek five-star haven with towering windows and a chandelier like falling stardust. Stepping from the cab, Clara's heart raced as her hands gripped her clutch. The hostess looked up as Clara entered, then blinked in surprise. Name, please? Clara Hayes. Mr. Cole is already here, the hostess said, slightly breathless. Right this way. When Clara entered the dining room, the world seemed to slow. The clinking of glasses, the soft hum of conversation, the delicate scrape of silverware, all faded as her gaze landed on him. Ethan Cole sat at a private table near the window, scrolling his phone. Dressed in a sharp charcoal suit, he looked every bit the confident, untouchable man she knew, until he looked up. His phone slipped slightly in his hand. For a heartbeat, he just stared, lips parted but silent. Clara froze. Every fear surged forward. He doesn't recognize me. This was a mistake. Then Ethan rose. His composed exterior softened, replaced by something vulnerable. His eyes traced her slowly, as though seeing color for the first time. Clara, he breathed, disbelieving. She smiled, shy but steady. I hope I'm not late. He didn't answer right away, still caught in silence. Then finally. No, he pulled out her chair. You're right on time. Clara sat, pulse beginning to steady. She had done it, walked through the fear, the doubt, the years of invisibility. And now here she was, in a gown, in his eyes in this moment. For the first time in years she felt seen. Clara had never witnessed Ethan Cole falter. Not in meetings, not on investor calls, not during a company crisis. He was the kind of man who moved like a storm already charted, decisive, untouchable, calm. But tonight, standing beside her, he looked undone. He hadn't spoken again since pulling out her chair. His gaze lingered, not improperly, but as though he were recalibrating everything he thought he knew. Studying her hair, her eyes, the curve of her lips. Clara clasped her hands in her lap, trying to still the tremor in her fingers. Her heart still hammered, but she kept her expression composed. Years of professionalism had taught her that mask. Yet tonight, the mask had cracked, and Ethan had glimpsed the woman beneath. At last he sat across from her, cleared his throat, and offered the faintest smile. I'll admit, I didn't expect this. She tilted her head. This? He motioned vaguely with his hand. You. Like this? Clara arched a brow. If I'd known it would shock you, I might have warned you first. Ethan chuckled, and the tension eased. Not gone, but different. Warmer now. Curious. I'm not complaining, he said. Just impressed. Clara lowered her gaze to the menu, pretending to study it, really just stealing a moment to breathe. She could feel eyes flicking their way, the sommelier pausing, patrons sneaking glances. She understood why. It wasn't just Ethan's presence, or the restaurant, or the gown. It was the electricity between them, sharp and unexpected. They ordered, steak for him, sea bass for her, and the conversation began to flow. At first, surface-level chatter. Food, weather, light jokes about the office. But Clara noticed something almost immediately. Ethan was listening. Not just nodding along, but really listening. His eyes stayed on hers. He asked questions. He remembered things she had said months ago. Tiny details she'd forgotten herself. Like how she took her coffee black, or how the squeak of styrofoam made her shudder. Tonight, he wasn't her boss. He was a man who genuinely wanted to know her. So, Ethan said after the plates were cleared and fresh wine poured. Tell me something about yourself that has nothing to do with work. Clara blinked. Nothing about work? That's the rule, he said, leaning forward, elbows on the table, smirk tugging at his lips. You're a mystery, Clara. I want to solve it. She smiled, warm and unguarded. Well, she swirled her wine slowly. I used to want to be a writer. Ethan's brows rose. Really? She nodded. Before college, before all this, I spent hours writing stories, creating characters, building worlds. I even started a novel once. I made it up to chapter 12 before I stopped. Why'd you stop? He asked. She hesitated. Life got practical. Everyone kept saying it was foolish, unrealistic, irresponsible. Ethan stayed quiet for a long beat. That's a shame, he finally said. Because I think this world needs more women like you writing stories. Her breath caught, words failing her. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his gaze resting on her with an intensity that left her feeling more exposed than the dress she wore ever could. I always thought of you as untouchable, he admitted. Efficient, steady, unshakable. But I never pictured the person beneath all that was this. This, she teased, arching a brow. Sharp, funny, passionate, he said, his voice dropping softer, and beautiful. Heat rushed into Clara's cheeks. She lowered her eyes to the table, suddenly aware of the warmth blooming across her skin. I don't usually do things like this, she murmured. Neither do I. When she glanced up, he was smiling, but there was something earnest behind it, something that told her he meant every word. They lingered long after dinner was done, sipping wine under the restaurant's golden glow. Outside the windows, night had fallen, the city lights glittering like stars scattered across velvet. At last, Ethan rose and offered his hand. May I walk you out? Clara slipped her fingers into his, surprised by how natural it felt. They stepped into the cool evening air. A gust lifted a strand of her hair across her face, and Ethan instinctively brushed it back, tucking it gently behind her ear. His touch was brief, careful, but it lingered against her skin. You really do look like a goddess, he said softly. Clara let out a laugh, half embarrassed, half stunned. Well, you can thank Lena for that. Your friend staged the whole thing. Then tell her she's brilliant. But I doubt she created this version of you. She only uncovered what was already there. Silence fell again, heavy, charged, filled with everything neither of them yet knew how to say. When they reached her car, she turned to unlock the door, then leaned back against it, facing him. This was unexpected, she whispered. The best things usually are, Ethan replied, stepping closer. The streetlight painted his face in soft amber. They stood there, caught in a stillness where no words were needed. Then slowly, Ethan lifted her hand to his lips, not kissing it, but close enough for his breath to brush her skin. Good night, Clara. Her throat tightened. Good night. He turned and walked away, his silhouette fading into the shimmer of city lights. Clara stayed there long after, her hand tingling where he had touched it, her heart no longer racing but floating. Because something had shifted that night, and nothing would ever be the same again. Monday morning, Clara slipped back into her usual uniform. Navy blouse, gray skirt, glasses, hair pinned into its neat bun. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, she moved with her typical quiet precision. But everything had changed. She had changed. The elevator ride to the 34th floor was silent, though her thoughts buzzed. The weekend blurred behind her, Friday night replaying like a dream she wished she could linger in. The glow of the restaurant, Ethan's voice, the way he looked at her. Not just at her appearance, but at her, as if she were rare. As if she mattered. She wasn't naive. She knew how these stories usually went. Secretaries didn't end up with CEOs. Especially not ones who could have models and socialites if they wanted. But this hadn't felt like fantasy. Ethan hadn't treated her like a novelty or a favor. He had listened, laughed, really seen her. In her office, she found a small envelope on her desk. No logo, no return name, just her initials written neatly in black ink. Her pulse skipped. She opened it with careful fingers. Inside was a short note. Clara. Thank you for Friday night. You surprised me in every wonderful way. Let me return the favor this time, with no pretense, no work. Dinner. Friday. Just us. She stared at the words for a long minute. Not a business dinner. Not a polite thank you. A date. A real date. Her chest tightened. It felt like a door she'd never thought to knock on had swung wide open in front of her. And a part of her wanted to run. You're not actually thinking of saying no, are you? Lena demanded that evening, her voice muffled behind a face mask. I don't know what I'm doing, Clara confessed. This is Ethan Cole. Billionaire. He doesn't date women like me. He literally just asked you out. That sounds like proof he does. Lena shot back. But what if it's just a phase? What if he's only dazzled by the novelty of seeing me dressed up? With a sigh, Lena peeled off her mask. Clara, the dress didn't make him want you. It just made him notice what the rest of us have always seen. He's drawn to you. The woman who saved his biggest deal. The woman who spins novels in her head but never shares them. Clara said nothing, but Lena's tone softened. You're scared. I get it. But don't let fear steal something beautiful from you. The week crept by. Ethan didn't push. No follow-up notes, no texts, no casual run-ins. Just that single invitation. He gave her space. And somehow, that made her want to say yes even more. By Thursday night, she'd decided. Friday morning, she left her reply on his desk before he arrived. 3 simple words, I'll be there. That evening, Ethan picked her up himself. No driver, no limo. Just his sleek black car. And that same composed, faintly amused expression she knew from the office. Softer tonight, warmer. Clara wore a deep burgundy dress, less dramatic than the emerald gown, but elegant and understated. Her hair fell loose, relaxed. She hadn't tried to dazzle this time. She wanted to show him herself. When he saw her, Ethan's smile made her stomach flutter. You look beautiful. She returned the smile. So do you. He chuckled. You've never complimented me before. You've never made it easy. They drove in companionable silence, city lights flashing past. Where are we going? She asked at last. Somewhere quieter, he answered. Somewhere we can talk. The rooftop garden was hidden atop an old hotel, strung with warm lights and set with just a few intimate tables. Ethan had rented the entire terrace. You did all this for dinner? She asked, stunned. He shrugged lightly. I thought you deserved a break from crowded rooms and stiff suits. She gazed out at the skyline, faint stars peeking through city haze. It was peaceful, removed from everything else. You didn't have to go to this much effort, she said softly. I wanted to, he replied, holding the door for her. You've spent years going unnoticed. It's time someone noticed you properly. Her chest tightened at his words. No man had ever spoken to her like that. Like she was worth seeing. Dinner was simple. Grilled salmon, herb risotto. A bottle of red wine Ethan admitted he only pretended to know about. They talked about their childhoods, the books they loved, the loneliness of leadership, their dreams and their fears. All the pieces of themselves that never made it into office emails. Clara opened up to him about her half-finished novel. A tale of a woman who drifted through life in the background until she discovered she had been the main character all along. Ethan listened closely, leaning forward, then said, That reminds me a lot of someone I know. She blinked at him, surprised. You think I'm the main character now? His hand reached across the table, his thumb brushing softly against her knuckles. I think you always have been. Later that night, they stood side by side on the rooftop, gazing at the city's glowing stretch of lights. A breeze stirred, tossing strands of Clara's hair across her face. Ethan moved behind her. Not too near, not too far, present but respectful. I didn't see this coming, Clara murmured. Neither did I, he answered. Silence lingered between them, heavy with unspoken possibility. Then Clara turned toward him. Her pulse raced, not from fear but from certainty. I'm scared, she confessed, raw and vulnerable. He reached for her hand. So am I. She lifted her gaze into his, those sharp, intelligent eyes that once felt intimidating. Now they held something gentler, truer. Slowly Ethan leaned in. Clara's breath caught. Their lips touched, not hurried, not dramatic, but tender, deliberate, meaningful. Like two people discovering a language they somehow already knew. The kiss deepened, and everything else slipped away. The city, the expectations, the version of herself she thought she had to be. She had never been kissed this way before. Not like she mattered. Not like she was worth waiting for. When they finally parted, Ethan pressed his forehead against hers, whispering, I've wanted to do that since the moment you walked into that restaurant. Clara smiled with her eyes still closed. I've wanted you to. For the first time in years, something opened inside her. A door she had locked long ago. Her heart, finally, unlatched. Monday arrived with sharp edges. The rooftop kiss still lingered in her memory. The warmth of his lips, the sincerity in his voice, the lightness in her chest. But that weightlessness dissolved the moment she entered the office. The shift was immediate, subtle yet piercing. People stared. Whispers darted down hallways like shadows. Half smiles, sideways looks, muffled laughter. Conversations halted as she passed, then picked up again once she was gone. She didn't need to ask why. She already knew. By mid-morning, she saw it play out. Ethan emerged from the elevator, tall and self-assured. But when he walked past two junior managers, they glanced at her, then exchanged smirks. Her stomach tightened. It wasn't their judgment that stung most, it was the assumption underneath it. That she had become that woman. The assistant who traded favors for advancement. The quiet girl who used beauty as leverage. They didn't know the nights she worked late, the sacrifices, the truth of what she and Ethan shared. And they didn't care. Clara had been invisible for so long. Now she was visible, but not for the reasons she wished. At lunch, she sat alone in the break room, pushing salad around her plate. Right on cue, Lena called. "I hear the rumor mill's already spinning," she said without preamble. "Your office gossip moves faster than the company newsletter," Clara muttered. "What are they saying?" Clara hesitated. "That I used dinner to get close to him. That I'm using him." Lena went quiet for a moment. "And Ethan? How's he handling it?" "I don't know," Clara admitted. "We haven't spoken since Friday. I think he's giving me space." "Are you okay?" Clara let out a sigh. "I should be. But this was never supposed to happen. I'm not this person. I never wanted attention. I just wanted respect." "And you are respected," Lena said firmly. "But people only respect what they can put in a box. They can't box you in anymore, so they twist the story instead." The words hit harder than Clara expected. That evening, she stayed late to avoid the crowd. The office was hushed, machines humming softly, footsteps echoing in the distance. She didn't hear Ethan approach, but she felt him there. "Hey," he said gently, standing at her cubicle. She turned with a strained smile. "Hi. Can we talk?" She nodded, and they walked to his office. For the first time, it felt strange being alone with him here. The same glass walls, the same skyline, but the weight was different. He closed the door. "I know what people are saying," Ethan said, voice low. "And I'm sorry. This is my fault." "No," Clara cut in quickly. "It's not." "Yes, it is," he countered. "I'm your boss. The power imbalance is real. No matter how true this feels, they'll distort it." She held his gaze. "So what do we do?" Ethan leaned against his desk, arms folded. "I've already spoken to HR. If this continues, I'll address it publicly." Clara swallowed. "You'd go public? With us?" He nodded. "If that's what it takes." She hesitated. "But what if I don't want the spotlight?" Ethan's eyes met hers. "Then I stepped back. This only happens if you want it to." There it was, the line she hadn't expected. Not a demand. Not a fix. A choice. Hers. That night in her apartment, Clara sat staring at the city lights when her phone buzzed. An email. Subject line, Administrative Director position opening. From a rival company she admired. One offering creative freedom, higher pay, and most importantly, a clean slate. The recruiter had followed her work and wanted to meet. It was real. The timing was uncanny. Clara stared at the screen. This could be her escape. A chance to walk away from the whispers and start fresh. Not as the assistant who turned heads, but as the professional with proven skill and credibility. But what about Ethan? The next day she told him. They met at a quiet cafe by the river, far from the office, far from gossip. "I got an offer," she said, stirring her tea. Ethan's expression gave nothing away. "A big company," she added. "Better title. Everything I've worked toward." He nodded. "And you deserve it." "But if I take it," he nodded again, slower this time. "We won't see each other every day." "Exactly." The silence between them was heavy. Finally, Ethan said, "I don't want you to leave. But even more, I don't want to be the reason you stay." Clara looked up. "I don't know what to choose." "Then don't," he said softly. "Not yet. Take the weekend. Think. Ask yourself what you really want. Not what they expect. Not what I want. You." Her throat tightened. "You'd be okay with me leaving?" "No," he admitted. But I'd be proud of you. The weekend came with rain. Clara stayed wrapped in a blanket, surrounded by half-filled notebooks and abandoned drafts of her novel. For the first time in years, she wasn't just questioning her job. She was questioning her life. When had she started folding herself into boxes others built? When had ambition begun to feel like a flaw? She thought of the woman in the green dress, the one who entered a restaurant and silenced a room. The one who made Ethan Cole stop mid-sentence. That woman wasn't someone else. She was Clara. She just had to decide how that woman wanted to live. By Monday morning, Clara had her answer. She arrived early. Final report printed. Desk cleared. Resignation letter typed, signed, sealed. Ethan was waiting in his office when she knocked. She stepped inside, steady, certain. "I'm leaving," she said softly. He gave a slow nod. "Another company?" "No," she replied. "I'm leaving because I've spent too long helping build someone else's dream while ignoring my own." She placed an envelope on the desk. "I'm going to finish my novel. To write the stories I've kept locked inside. I want a life where I'm not hidden behind a desk." Ethan studied her, not with disappointment, but something far deeper, pride. "You're remarkable, Clara," he said quietly. "You always have been." Her smile carried a hint of sadness. "We may not work together anymore." He rose, circled the desk, and took her hand. "No," he murmured. "But this doesn't have to end, unless you want it to." Her eyes searched his. "And even if it does," he whispered, "I'll always be grateful for the woman who entered my life like a quiet storm and changed everything." Clara leaned in, pressing a soft, lingering kiss against his lips. It wasn't goodbye, it was a promise. "I'm choosing me," she said. "And that," Ethan replied with a smile, "is exactly why I fell in love with you." A year had passed since Clara Hayes handed over her resignation. 12 months since she walked out of the glass tower on the 34th floor, leaving behind the reports, the titles, the label of just a secretary. 12 months since she kissed Ethan Cole in his office and chose herself. Not in rebellion, but in rebirth. Now, she stood in the back room of a quaint Brooklyn bookstore, smoothing the sleeves of her cream silk blouse. From the front, a low hum of voices drifted in. Chairs were neatly arranged, and stacks of her debut novel, The Woman in the Windowless Office, sat ready on the tables. Clara pressed a hand to her heart, exhaling slowly. This was real. She had done it. She was now a published author. Though the novel was fiction, readers felt the raw honesty pulsing through its pages. The quiet longing, the unseen struggles, the fierce rediscovery of a woman who had lived too long in the background. The turnout for her launch surprised her. Former colleagues, editors, agents, friends, readers. And among them, the man who had never stopped showing up, Ethan. At first, she hadn't expected him. But they had kept in touch. Dinners when schedules allowed, calls, texts, laughter filling the spaces between solitude. He never pushed, never demanded, only supported. And when she finished her manuscript, he was the first to ask when he could read it. When Clara stepped onto the small stage, applause washed over her. She smiled. Not nervous, not shy, but grounded. "I used to sit behind a desk, organizing the lives of people who built empires," she began, her voice steady and warm. "And I believed that was enough. That being useful meant being seen." She paused. "But I learned something, that you can be efficient, professional, polite, and still invisible. That you can be respected, but never truly known." Her gaze swept across the crowd until it found Ethan leaning against the back wall in his navy jacket, pride shining in his expression. "And then one day," Clara continued, "someone looks at you, not through you, and you're reminded of everything you could be, if only you allowed yourself to try." The room was silent, every ear tuned to her. "I didn't write this book because I had all the answers. I wrote it because I needed to search for them. And if there's one message I want every woman here to remember, it's this. Don't wait for permission to be seen. Don't wait for the world to notice you. Step into your own light." Thunderous applause filled the room. Cameras flashed. Clara's eyes glimmered, but she didn't cry, not this time. She was no longer the woman afraid of attention. The signing began. One by one, readers approached, sharing how her story mirrored their own, how they felt understood for the first time. Clara listened, smiled, and signed each book with the same words. Be the main character of your own story. Clara H. Near the end of the line, a timid young woman in glasses and a cardigan stepped forward, clutching her book to her chest. I just wanted to thank you, she stammered. I work reception at a law firm, and I've always been the quiet one, the one no one notices. But your book made me feel like I'm not nothing. Clara's smile softened. She reached across the table, touching her hand. You're not nothing, she said gently. You're simply waiting for the right moment to be everything. Tears welled in the girl's eyes. She nodded and walked away. Clara blinked back her own tears. Later, when the event ended and the guests drifted out, Clara stepped outside. The city glowed in soft gold, a breeze playing with her hair. She closed her eyes and breathed it in. You always knew how to steal a scene, a voice teased behind her. She turned. Ethan stood there, a small box in his hand. Her pulse quickened. I wasn't expecting a gift, she teased. He stepped closer. It's not a gift. It's a question. Her breath caught. He opened the box. Inside rested a simple, elegant ring, quietly radiant, perfectly her. I fell in love with you the night you walked into that restaurant looking like a goddess, he said. But I stayed in love with you because of the woman you already were. The one who held everything together and never asked for anything back. Tears pricked her eyes. You never needed saving, Clara. You never will. But I'd be honored to stand by your side while you change the world. One story at a time. He sank to one knee. Will you marry me? Her hand flew to her mouth as tears spilled over. Then with a soft laugh she whispered, yes. He rose, kissed her, and the city around them disappeared. No office, no past, no whispers. Only the two of them, stepping into something new and beautiful. A year later, Clara's second book, The View from Her Own Window, was released. It landed on the bestseller list immediately, and was optioned for a limited series before the first printing sold out. Critics praised its depth, honesty, and voice. But what meant more to Clara were the letters. Hundreds of them, from women everywhere, assistants, students, mothers, cashiers. Each one said the same thing. You reminded me that I matter. She kept every letter in a box at the foot of her desk. One afternoon in a bookstore cafe, while sipping coffee and signing copies, another nervous young woman approached. Her glasses too large, her cardigan too tight, eyes uncertain. I don't really know who I am yet, the girl confessed. I feel like I'm always on the sidelines, watching life go by. Do you write? Clara asked. The girl nodded shyly. But no one's ever read it. I've never shown anyone. Clara signed a copy of her book and handed it over. Promise me one thing, she said. What? The girl asked. Don't wait for someone else to see you. Start by seeing yourself. That's where your story begins. The girl blinked, then smiled, a small, genuine smile. As Clara watched her leave, she leaned back in her chair, hands around her coffee cup, heart full. She had once been invisible, but now she was a voice. A woman who had stepped out of the shadows into her own light. And she would never go back. That's the end of the story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories.